Hey gang, I'm Cole Cheney, and this is episode 22 of the CBD Source podcast. Coming up on the show, we're going to explore the other side of the hemp plant, hemp for fiber, namely high fashion. I had a fascinating conversation with the owner of Hempy's, Kenneth Smith. Later in the show, we'll see what's happening on our Reddit page with our new social media maven, who we'll be introducing on the show today. We'll also be giving out that prize from episode 20, the pack of Lowell Smokes CBD hemp joints to a lucky listener who did all the proper steps. We'll get into all that later on, but right now, let's dive right into it. Here's my interview with Hempy's Kenneth Smith.
Gang, you're listening to the CBD Source podcast.
We usually talk mostly about CBD and stuff, but there are so many other applications for hemp, and especially now, like everyone seems to be getting into combining hemp with, making fabric out of hemp fiber, and you guys, Hempy's, are the pioneers. Like you're one of the first brands. I was just talking to our wrap-up guy James earlier. I was saying that I was going to be calling you, and he's like, "Oh, I have a Hempy's hat." It's like I've had it for years and years. So you guys have been making clothes since the 90s with hemp, right?
Exactly. We're one of the oldest in the country since 1995.
Wow.
We started making hemp clothing in the U.S. But just to clarify, we're not weaving the yarns and then taking those yarns on a mill and weaving them into cloth, because obviously, there was no hemp grown in the United States during those years.
Yeah. How did you go about getting it? Like, how did you source it back then?
Well, what happened about, I sourced some really fine old world cloths from Romania. And then there's some really rough stuff that you can get in from Nepal. But about 20 years ago, China, way ahead of the U.S., said, we're going to be hemp, capital of the world, hemp fabrics,
right, capital
of the world. And they built several state-of-the-art factories to decorticate the hemp and to prepare, degum it. It's not an easy fiber to work with. And then spin it into yarns, and then the mills right behind that, and then the dye houses, and then the finishing houses. It's about 5 separate factories with about a $350 million to $500 million investment,
wow,
depending on how you figure it. So they did that 20 years ago and have been making some of the coolest, most beautiful fabrics ever since. I can get hemp denim in any, 100% hemp, 70-30 hemp. I can get, they do a hemp silk mix that's gorgeous. My dining room chairs are hemp yak, like yak fur, and hemp herringbone that's just beautiful. So China put their, flag in the sand 20 years ago and said, we're going to just do this. And being a centralized economy, they were able to, place the 5 factories in a row and then tell all the farmers in the neighboring towns, you're going to grow this kind of hemp, because here in the U.S., even though in December we got the Farm Bill passed and we're going to grow a lot of hemp in this country, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a chicken and egg. And what I mean by that is right now everybody's chasing CBD and seed hemp, and rightfully so. If a farmer came to me, that's what I tell him to do, because there's a ready market for both food hemp and CBD. But CBD and, seed hemp is low and bushy, and all the plant energy goes to producing more bigger flowers and more seed. And fiber hemp is 10 to 12 feet tall. It looks like a bamboo field almost.
Right.
And that has the long fibers. And the short bushy stuff, it has fiber in it, but it's tiny spindly branches with lots of nodes every 3 or 4 inches where another branch takes off, which sort of slices the fiber, if you will. It's not long, beautiful fibers to make yarns out of. So to oversimplify it, there is fiber in low bushy hemp, but even at its best, even with the fiber hemp, it's only 10 to 15% of the plant. And after processing, that drops to 8 to 10%, the actual fiber. Mm-hmm. So right now in the U.S., who's going to build a state-of-the-art hemp yarn factory and all the steps it takes to get from plant to fabric, when the farmers aren't even growing the right kind,
Right.
So that's what I mean by chicken and egg, is the farmers aren't going to grow it until they have a place to sell it. And they're not going to have a place to sell it till someone knows that they're going to grow it. And, it'll work itself out. It's just going to take time. And even then, I wonder, to tell you the truth, if we'll be doing clothing with it. Hemp is such an amazing plant. They've just playing with the electrical conductive properties of hemp. Germany's been using their fiber in their automobiles for years. The door panels in Mercedes have hemp fiber. The new floorboards of the Eco BMW vehicle has hemp fiber in it because it's stronger and lighter than steel.
Wow.
I think we may find some amazing, industrial fabrics with it. And I think that's the direction it's going to go, is the value added. I really don't think we're going to go back to the really labor intensive mill houses of the 1800s just because it's hemp,
Right.
I think you'll have some boutique-y, really cool, places doing small, like in their barn, hemp fabrics, artisan hemp fabrics. I think we'll have that. But I'm talking on a really large commercial scale. I think we'll take our fiber in the U.S. and start doing really amazing. I mean, they're talking about batteries because it stores electricity well.
Holy shit.
At the nano robot scale, the little tiny hemp fibers will convey electricity better than copper or whatever they use now at that level of nanotechnology. So, it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah,
how
wow.
much hemp can do.
You just made the hair stand up on my arm. I can't believe that's even a thing. That's crazy. This is like the more I learn about this plant, the more, just like they say, it has like 25,000 possible uses or 50,000 uses, something crazy like that.
Yeah, it is.
That is amazing.
And so we'll do composites. We may do structural building materials. I mean, there's endless things that we'll discover and use our hemp fiber for. I just don't picture us reopening mills in the Northeast that have been closed down for 30 years and start weaving fabrics in a very labor-intensive, industry that left our country for all intensive purposes years ago. You know what I mean?
Right. What got you guys, you at Hempy's, into this? Like, how did you guys kick this off?
We were started by a surfer named Albert Lewis. And one day he was on the beach back in the early 90s and opened his surf wax. I don't know how familiar you are with surfing, but...
I'm in New York, so not much, not very.
Okay. Surfers wax their boards so that when they get wet, the fiberglass surfboards, if you didn't wax it, your feet would slide off in the wet
that makes
seawater
sense.
really easily. So they wax the boards. And it gives, a sticky, gooey, surface for the feet to grab onto in the water. And surf wax typically comes in a cellophane wrapper. So he was opening the surf wax, and the cellophane wrapper blew away down the beach. And he ran after it and had a hard time catching it. He was like, got him thinking, he's like, this is way back in 95 before, our oceans they were probably filling with plastic at that time, but it wasn't near the political issue it is today. You know? But still, he's very environmentally conscious, and he started thinking, what can we do? I want to surf wax container that's sustainable, biodegradable. And so he started researching the most sustainable fabrics like on the planet, literally. He's like, what would be the very best thing? And he came up with hemp. And so Hempy's first product, and I only have one left, I have one of the original surf wax bags, were these little bags made of hemp to put your surf wax in. And from there, it just started making all sorts of clothing out of hemp fabrics. And
that's cool.
That's the beginning.
It's always, it's great when something practical is the reason why, like someone needs a solution to a problem, and then there's no actual solution there, so they create the solution, and then it just spawns a whole industry, or it spawns a whole business. That's great. I love that.
And just the very inquiry of, what's the most sustainable fabric around,
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking back to like in my childhood, if someone said like, would you wear hemp clothes? I think I remember someone even mentioning that to me. And I always had this perception of like burlap sacks, just like really rough fibers. And it was like, yeah, come on. Nobody can really, no one's wearing that. That's impossible. They don't have it refined enough to make it like comfortable. But with, like you were saying, with the way that they've got it down to such a science now, and you guys have it down to a science, you can make all these different clothes. I'm looking at your website right now. Like, you have a huge list of all these different types of clothes that you sell: wallets, t-shirts, jeans, all this stuff, hats, scarves, whatever. Like, technology has advanced on clothes with making clothes with hemp, and seems like that it's growing. Like you said, it probably will be an artisanal thing, because CBD. Just growing it, acreage, like 1 acre of CBD, you can get like somewhere between $15,000 and $60,000, when like 1 acre of hemp grown for fabric or whatever would be like what, $1,000 or less. So
yeah, I don't even know.
Yeah. So it's like what American farmers are going to make that leap?
I think we're going to start growing fiber hemp, if you will, in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And like I said, for a whole bunch of cool uses that we haven't even thought of yet. And there will be a market for the fiber and for the hurd on the inside. The core of the plant is called hurd. Mm-hmm. And they're coming up with all sorts of uses for the hurd and building materials, etc. So we will start farming all kinds of hemp, not just CBD hemp, and we will find all sorts of cool industrial and otherwise uses for it. I don't think we're going to stop at CBD hemp and just stay there in the U.S.
Right. Yeah, that market's going to get saturated. Then it's going to be like, oh, by the way, there's like a million other things we can do with this hemp. Let's grow it big. Let's grow it tall. Let's make hemp gas. That kind of stuff. There's so many things that they can do.
Exactly.
Me and Ryan are headed to the New Jersey Cannabis Convention on Saturday and Sunday, the 14th and 15th. So if you're heading to NECAN, the Atlantic City Convention Center, on the 14th or 15th, and you see a couple of guys walking around with CBD Source stuff and some cool mics with tie-dye green microphone windscreens, that's us. Make sure to swing by, say hi, introduce yourselves, don't be afraid. We're looking for more people to be on the show. We're looking for people with cool stories and cool products and that kind of stuff. We're going to be out there scouting for new and cool CBD innovations and people who are changing the industry. So if you do spot us walking around the convention center or at the cool CBD after party on the first night, be sure to swing by, just like come on up, talk to us. We're just normal humans with a podcast. And we would definitely like to talk to you, all right? If you do see us and you don't happen to grab our information, give us a call, 1-833-CBD-GANG. That's our phone number, 1-833-223-4264. And let us know that you didn't see us or you ran into us and didn't get our contact info, because we want to talk to you. After you started making the little surf bags, how did you get involved with the company? Like what time period did you become the owner of Hempy's?
I bought the company 5 years ago from Albert Lewis, the original founder. The late 90s was the first time hemp clothing took off in recent history. And so the company grew like wildfire right out of the gate and had a full women's wear line, full men's wear. I mean, I look back at the catalogs. There were actually hemp catalogs,
That's
like
cool.
mailer catalogs I have in the archives, where the whole catalog is all hemp clothing from a whole bunch of different companies. And Hempy's just would be like scattered throughout on this page, and that whole layout was all Hempy's and women's wear. And but what astounds me was there was this hemp catalog that was, somebody was printing and shipping out to whoever their mailing list was back in 1995 for hemp clothing. I mean, I look back and full page ads in Surfer magazine and all sorts of stuff, and hemp clothing was bigger in the late 90s than it is today.
Wow.
And it went through one other surge. It kind of crashed and burned in the early 2000s. And then like 2006, 2007, it started coming back, and everyone in the industry was like, oh my gosh, it's going to happen this time. And then that one was shorter. And so now we're back on like number 3, of a resurgence. And I think this one, because of CBD, will get the farmers growing it, and the law changes, and what's happening with marijuana across the country, just cannabis in general, and the, body's cannabinoid receptor system and the education everyone's getting is, demystifying, and whatever the word would be, undemonizing, cannabis in general as a family. So, that initially, the stuff that started happening with marijuana initially kind of hurt us in the hemp industry. And what I mean by that is everyone got really nervous, and, my credit card company started giving me trouble after 20 years.
Wow.
Yep. But it was because they would be getting these edicts down from the top: do not do anything with marijuana or cannabis, so then they'd look and they'd be like, oh, what's this Hempy's, and even though it's a clothing company, we kind of got caught up in it in the very beginning. Now it's a tremendous benefit. People understand so much more about cannabis today in general than they did 5 years ago. When I bought the company, people thought hemp and marijuana were synonymous. People would joke, oh, do you get high in your warehouse? Oh, can I smoke my hat?
Right. That's what your credit card company thinks you can do, probably.
Yeah. Well, the marijuana industry had hijacked the term hemp, years before. And so that's, why people thought they were one and the same. So yeah, it's exciting that the whole plant is getting a complete resurgence and makeover in the U.S. And, the CBD, which I think is just the first cannabinoid. Obviously, THC was the first one everyone got excited about. Yeah. There's over 100. And, we're probably going to find that, CBD helps sleep and brings down anxiety and can, work with PTSD and stop childhood epilepsy in some children, yada, yada, yada. But that's just CBD. There's a whole bunch of other cannabinoids that we're just beginning to scratch the surface on.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's the very, very early stages as far as studying that stuff. But I was thinking about it, to use a surfing analogy. If there were like 3 waves, like the guy who started it, your founder, caught that first wave and saw what was happening. Like he created it. He started the first wave and rode that wave heavy. And then, everyone who was, I'm a child of the 90s, I guess, buying their ponchos and all that stuff and really getting into it at that time. So that was like the first wave, like you're saying. And the second wave was sort of the resurgence. But and I remember when in that first 90s period, like when you saw something at, say, like not a thrift store, but like at a boutique or something that was made of hemp, it was risque. It was like, is this even legal? Like, how the fuck are they selling this? Like, isn't this like, especially if during like the whole, DARE program stuff.
Right.
During that was going on in schools that just like scared the shit out of kids. It was like, how is this legal? Like, how can we actually buy hemp? It was weird that it was for sale. So like it had that little risque kind of edge to it. And you felt kind of cool, like, hey, guys, this is a hemp whatever. I've got a hemp thing. And probably people kept their weed in it just to, hemp on hemp, like a hat on a hat or something.
Right.
But but now after that second wave, you got in just at the right time, right before CBD kind of broke, like right when that wave is just starting to crash. So like now all these bigger brands are like, fuck, we got to get in on this, and like Levi's and Patagonia and these other big companies are doing these major pushes to get in. Like they're kind of like grabbing in, trying to pull what you guys have already been building for 20 years, like you're the OGs now. You're like the Cheech and Chong, and these are like the new wave guys that are like, hey, we're an old brand too, but they never embraced it. They're just embracing it now because they can make a buck on it. Not that that's really a bad thing.
Yeah, and that's exactly the reaction I had when I saw Levi's ad. That's was like, we found a way to make hemp denim soft, and I'm like, really? You just found it? Because I've been doing it for 20 years at Hempy's. That's really good, Levi's. Wow, yay,
right. You discovered a land that indigenous people have already been living on for 1,000 years and claimed it as something.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Exactly.
Jeez. But yeah, so you have been, pioneers and establishing a brand for so long. I guess with surf culture starting, a lot of things started in surf culture and kind of like made its way more mainstream. Now everyone knows that you can make clothes out of hemp and it doesn't feel like you're wearing a potato sack.
Exactly.
And you guys, we have a lot to thank you guys for that, for making, starting that in the early days and blazing those trails. So now everyone else can jump on your coattails and clean up.
Yeah, right. You know what happens to pioneers, right? They get shot.
They get bashed and bruised, and then the other people with money come in and they're like, oh, I see what's going on here. I can make more money.
Yeah.
I can throw money into this and make much more money.
Exactly.
So,
What is the worst thing that you've ever eaten, you've ever done for food, to get food while you had the munchies? I'd love to know that.
Oh, that's a great idea. What is the craziest munchies you've ever had? What is the biggest crave you've ever had, and the most disgusting thing you might have resorted to? Like, there's just nothing left in the fridge. You came upon some weed, didn't expect it, and didn't do that shop ahead of time to make sure you had something stocked and ready to go for that munchie crave. What did you end up eating? Because that's an interesting concept. Give us a call, 1-833-CBD-GANG. That's 1-833-CBD-GANG. The numbers are 223-4264. I want to hear from you.
And if you have ever eaten garbage, or I should say food out of the garbage while having the munchies, or any other crazy story, crazier story, or maybe a story that's not as crazy, give us a call.
Did you get so high that you ate your dad's 40-year-old Twinkie collection?
No, I did not do that. And that's probably because I don't eat Twinkies. That's probably the only reason.
Did you at home get so high that you found your parents' wedding cake topper in the freezer, thawed that shit out and munched on it because you just had to have that cake?
If I had one of those spare, just around, I would. I'd be like, sorry, Mom, that's going to just have to be for next anniversary.
Oh, God. I'm defrosting it. It's tough shit, man, and that thing is gone. Did you eat an entire roll of...
cookie dough.
Oh, yeah, just raw cookie dough.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, that's something a lot of people probably had.
If you went to go make brownies and ate half the batter.
Oh, I bet that's something someone's done, for sure.
Or if you are deciding to eat your leftovers that are about a week old and you're not sure if they're still good, give us a call.
Right. Give us a call. What's the number, Tosh?
1-833-CBD-GANG. That's 1-833-CBD-GANG.
Gang's all here. The CBD Gang. Give the show a call at 1-833-223-4264. That's 1-833-CBD-GANG.
So you guys are selling worldwide, or you're just an American company, or what's going on? Do you have worldwide distribution?
We started, just everything was made in the U.S. and sold for the most part in U.S. and Canada. I have a couple of very large Australian accounts. Hemp is big in Australia. I don't know why. And,
oh, really?
Yeah. So I have like probably 5 stores that I ship to in Australia. And all over the country there, in different locations of Australia. But for the most part, it was U.S. and Canada until just 2 years ago, we started a European division. And that's, then it didn't make sense to make things in the U.S. and ship them across to Europe because of the carbon footprint,
right?
The duties and everything. So that's when I started manufacturing some goods in Romania and Nepal and even China, because they just put them on a train in China and they're there, gets to the EU in less than 20 days by train.
Mm-hmm. I'm just picturing the Transylvanian hemp. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. So it's really, an interesting world we live in, because we are globalized.
Oh, yeah.
And especially in the hemp industry, we're going to need that. I mean, we have it today, and I don't see that changing. I see that, everyone all over the world is going to be growing hemp. And we see that. We see the, banana belt around the equator is all sorts of people are buying land and big grow operations. All the grow operations in Colombia that were illegal are now legalizing.
Right.
Processors are moving in. And, this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry, but it is going to be worldwide,
Yeah.
And we're going to have to compete, whether it's on CBD or fabrics or clothing or whatever. I mean, I have Turkey's contacted me and really wants to get into a hemp clothing line. And they are sort of the, textile linen capital of Europe, and they want to get into the hemp fabrics and
wow, that's awesome.
And start importing the yarns right now. They still have to import the yarns, because they don't have a hemp industry.
Right.
But they can import the yarns readily from China and just put it on their existing mills and start making, Turkish towels out of the hemp,
Uh-huh.
So I see that just snowballing the worldwide aspects of the hemp industry.
Where are you sourcing most of your hemp from that you're using in the U.S.?
Because that supply chain is not built at all, we're still importing the fabrics from other countries who have been making hemp fabrics forever, because that's the piece I was talking about in the beginning that's missing. Who's going to build those plants when the farmers aren't even growing the right kind of hemp to do fibers with?
Right.
And nobody on a commercial scale is making hemp yarns in the U.S. Somebody wove a hemp flag, by hand, like in truly old world methods. They took the hemp fibers and they made hemp yarn and they wove it into cloth, and, took them about 2 years, to make one flag, and that's fun and that's cool. And it's illustrative of how things used to be done, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But that's not a commercial supply chain where I can't buy yarn, much less fabric, that was 100% made in the USA. In other words, they took farmers' growth from Colorado and spun the yarn, wove it into cloth,
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't exist yet.
Right.
And when it does, it'll probably be much more high-tech industrial uses than it will be, just plain cotton type fabrics. When China is so far ahead of us, with state-of-the-art factories, and they've got, the thousands of people that are willing to work in those factories. We don't have those workers in the U.S.
Yeah, that's true. I think like China has been using hemp as a resource for like 10,000 years or something, right? Like seriously, some crazy amount of time like that. They've been breeding it just to make for materials, and for some ancient Chinese herbs, like CBD is in part of their their ancient herbs, but like really they never had that little, I'd say little, but it's like what, from the 1930s till
30.
We had this like block of time where everything was off limits in this country, as far as cultivating it, processing it, all of that stuff. They never had that hiccup that fucked our farmers, that screwed the American market up as far as hemp goes. So they've just been steadily figuring out how to grow it, grow it tall, grow it good, and how to process it and all that stuff, like you're saying. So yeah, they do have the edge. I mean, is there a way for us to eventually, like, say once the CBD market is like totally full, and we have farms that are producing crops that just aren't even breaking even, some farmers could switch to that really tall hemp maybe. And
definitely. Yeah. That's definitely going to happen. We're going to have several uses, all kinds of uses for the fiber hemp, and maybe even make yarn out of it, but I think there'll be probably other uses that are sexier, more, whether it's composites, building materials, car manufacturing, batteries, I don't know, but there's a lot of uses for hemp fiber.
Yeah.
And that's probably where we'll go in the U.S. because we do high tech really well still. We don't do manual labor really well on a worldwide basis.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Unless you have robots weaving it out of the plants, like you just have a robot army.
True. Someone might come in and build the next generation of fabric mill.
Right.
Yeah, that could happen.
Right. Well, I think it's awesome what you guys have been doing, and the fact that you laid this groundwork and everyone else is coming in, late to the game and throwing their massive sacks of money on the table and figuring out how to use what you guys have been, building for so long and capitalize on it. Is kind of, it just shows that you knew where this whole tide was turning. Like you could see it was coming. And the fact that you got in 5 years ago, like, wow, perfect timing. Like you couldn't have timed it better. You had a few years there where it might have been a little like scary and lean. Is like, is this going to happen or not? But now it's really going to be. It seems like it's starting to, when it rains, it pours. We got countries all over the world looking for someone who's already in the industry and knows what they're doing. Well, they're going to look for Hempies because that's the established brand. That's the American established brand. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I definitely want to pick up. I'm looking at your site right now. I want to pick, like, I've been wearing a lot of 5-panel hats now, and I see you've got some over here. Do you have any 5-panel hats that say, like, I see you've got like baseball caps that say got CBD, or do you have any like 5 panels that say that?
Not on the 5 panels, no. We actually did a retro Hempy's patch on the 5 panels this time.
That's cool. I'm definitely going to pick one of those up. And my wallet is really frayed right now, so I'm thinking maybe getting a hemp wallet, that kind of thing. Just try to push toward, like, help this industry out. Not that it needs help, but, like, I should be rocking and representing, what I'm already dealing with in the CBD world. Why not take the hemp aspect into what I'm wearing and what I'm already, representing when I'm...
Exactly.
I think a lot of people probably feel that way.
Well, and that's the thing in clothing in general, the U.S. consumer has been trained. It's the only consumer product category that you can buy the same piece of clothing cheaper today than you could 40 years ago. Literally a men's shirt at J.C. Penney's, 50 years ago was $9.99, and today you can walk into H&M and basically get the same button-down shirt for $5.99 on sale. There's no other category. Bread in that period went from 5 cents a loaf to, $4.50 a loaf. Just 100 times more. Every other consumer product in that same period has gone, kept up with inflation. Clothing is the only category that we can buy it cheaper today than we could back then.
Why is that? Do you know why is that?
That's because we moved the true cost. We're not anywhere near catching our true cost. We moved it to Bangladesh, where we pay people 5 cents a day that they can't barely support their families on. They're just polluting the environment because they have no environmental laws or environmental protection agency. So what we as consumers did is we moved our true costs far, far, far out of sight. And so we don't have to look at it or see it. And then we just want to walk in and buy a new shirt, and it's so cheap we may not even wear it. We may find it in the back of our closet 2 years from now with the tag still on it, because that's what we do.
Right. It doesn't fit us, and it just becomes a rag.
Yeah, and we never did wear it, but it didn't matter. We got away from buying quality clothing that would last, and we're going to wear and wear and wear and wear year after year. So it's a real cultural change because we can never compete with hemp fabric with, that kind of cotton, the kind of cotton that's flooding the country at ridiculously cheap, prices, whether it's Zara or these chains, they actually have created 52 clothing seasons a year. Every week, they want new goods on the floor. It's a cardinal rule.
Jeez.
Well, it used to be 4 seasons a year. You went spring, summer, fall, and then they brought out like this thing called Holiday Cruise, and it was a 5th season. And that was a big deal in the fashion industry, Oh, 5 seasons,
Right.
Well, now the stores and the consumers expect, if they were in there last week, they want to see something new this week. So we've gone to a disposable clothing mentality, and it's now turning into one of the largest environmental issues at our dumps, because a lot of that fabric is petroleum-based synthetics, and we throw it out at such a huge rate. Even the stuff that's donated, people don't know, and I can't remember the statistics off the top of my head, but it's something like 75% of the clothing that's donated. We feel good about it, but Goodwill and the people who are collecting it actually throw out most of it because they only put on the floor what they think they can sell, right? Obviously.
Right.
And so they're sorting through a bag of clothes that you drop off and choosing maybe 25% of it to put out on the floor for reuse, and the other 75 goes in the trash. Not to mention what we throw out directly and don't even try to give to Goodwill.
Right, so that shit either ends up in a landfill or like floating in the ocean, I guess.
Right, and in the landfills, it gets buried and it starts, decaying. But it's oil, it's synthetic fibers, and they start leaching into the groundwater and causing all sorts of problems. That's our clothing. Nobody thinks of clothing in that light, but that's where we've come to. So when we talk about cannabis clothing, I'd like to go way back and start retraining ourselves to think of things that last, and hemp has natural antimicrobial qualities. It has natural sunscreen. It's more durable, but you got to pay more for it.
Right.
I'm never going to be able to compete with that $5.99 synthetic, beanie from some foreign country somewhere. I can't do it. I never will be able to. Made in the USA from hemp fabrics, it's going to cost more. And we as consumers, are we willing to change our mentality from disposable clothing to quality lasting clothing?
Yeah, it's such a sustainable plant. It's so good for the environment. Like, I don't know if maybe you would, I'm sure you would know because I don't know, but like compared to say cotton or whatever, like from one big hemp plant, like how much fiber are you getting out of like one? Because they grow so fast too, right? Like how fast does it take to grow one big hemp plant that you can, pull some of these hats and clothes out of?
It takes about 4 months. And so you can easily get 2 crops a year in places like California. 3 would be a bit much because you've got to rest the soil and rotate some other crops in and stuff, just like, good farming practices. But, twice a year on the same field, you can get a full hemp crop. It uses about half the water of a cotton field. So as water, becomes a bigger and bigger issue here in the Western United States, we still grow rice in California. That's just ridiculous. Flooding,
it
fields,
doesn't make sense.
We don't have monsoons here. This is not a natural crop,
Right. Wow.
And
all these water shortages in California, it's like no wonder. Geez.
Yeah. And then the almonds are the same. There's quotes about what a single almond takes in water to produce, and yet in California we produce something like 90% of the almonds worldwide. So I think there'll be a natural migration away to the plants that use less water, like hemp. As far as the fiber is concerned, like for paper, then there's an oft-quoted statistic that the same plot of land with hemp growing every year after year, can supply 4 times the volume of fiber as an old growth forest, that has the big trees on it. So quit cutting down the trees.
Which takes hundreds of years. Yeah, that takes hundreds of years to grow that forest. You're doing it, twice a year with hemp. That's crazy.
Yeah.
This is why hemp is the plant that's going to be changing, the future of not just this country, but like you're saying, the whole planet. Like all the different uses. Like there's a company that makes hemp, like wood out of hemp. Like they're able to like reconstruct it into sort of like boards. And then like you were saying with like hempcrete, so they can make a concrete out of hemp. There's a hemp anol, I think it's something like that, where you can make a gas that could actually power cars if they were set up for it. For I think it was like 35 cents a gallon or something like that. It's like $1.35, but then with like kickbacks from like for doing a sustainable gas, a fuel source, you can get like $1 off of that. So like imagine 35 cents a gallon to fuel up your car. I mean, it's crazy. All from the same plant that, you're keeping your money in your wallet, or you're, wearing as a hat. There's so many damn ways to use this plant. I love it. It's like every day I'm talking to more people who are finding new ways to use it, or have grown businesses that are just like you guys that, you established yourself and now people know that this is a thing, like before that, this country, when we were in that slump, when nobody knew that hemp could be clothes, it's like lost to time that, back in the day, like the people who pretty much discovered America were using hemp to, build the sails for their ships and all of that stuff. It's basically, it's coming back, and you guys are helping do that. So that's freaking awesome.
CBD gang, we're looking for your weed man van stories. The typical weed man in van has many faces,
Dirtbag Dave,
Dirty Sherry, Scuzzy Sean,
many names,
Long-haired Larry, Greasy Gerald,
Sketchy Eddie, and many different types of vans. But everybody has met him, and everybody has a story. Who turned you on to the power of flower? We want to hear about your first experience with grass, pot, Maui Wowie, bud. Give the show a call at 1-833-CBD-GANG. That's 1-833-223-4264. Tell us your story in 3 minutes or less, and we might play it on the show. Hell, one day we might animate it for our YouTube page. We'll be right back with more from Cole Chaney and the CBD Source podcast.
As far as you were saying with all these other shitty clothes that they seep back into the groundwater and all of that stuff. it's like planned obsolescence. They're making these things that they know are disposable. They know people are not going to love them and cherish them. They're going to fall apart. Because then they want you to buy one next week, to replace that piece of shit that you just bought at Walmart or wherever you're buying your, $5 shirt. So yeah, obviously you're going to have to pay more for something that is so much cleaner for the environment. It's sustainable. It's like from a natural thing that you're also probably getting your CBD from, like it just makes sense to embrace that. So
yeah, I mean, your skin is your largest organ in the body. And we rarely think about, what we put against that skin, and all of your yoga wear and everything that's made out of unnatural products, or threads, that's tested at room temperature, but they don't test it at, sweating human temperature. And so if you take that fabric and lay it against the largest organ in the body that's made to, absorb whatever is put on it, and then you go out jogging and start sweating, what are you absorbing into your skin? Right out of your clothing, right out of your, I was going to use a brand name, Lululemon,
right.
synthetic clothing, into the largest organ in the body. We don't know. Yeah. We don't know what 30 years of that does,
Yeah, especially if you're doing like Bikram yoga or the hot yoga, and you're already in a hot room and now you're sweating up even more. Like what is like leaching into your body there? Who knows?
Yep.
It's messed up. Do you guys make yoga pants? Are there hemp yoga pants? Does that exist?
There is. We have women's yoga pants. Yep.
Well, there you go. You gotta get in on that Lululemon style, like where one woman kind of pushes it and have these weird parties and sell it to all their friends. Yeah, these like weird Tupperware parties for spandex. It's so bizarre. My girlfriend got invited to one of those.
That was what was that? That was I can't remember the name of the company. Lularoo or something.
Oh, that's it. I confuse those two. But yeah. How do you guys advertise, by the way? Because that's something that we're having an issue with right now, as far as like you're Hempies. It's in your name, and CBD Source podcast, like CBD's in our name. It's like it's really tough to do any kind of social media advertising. Like it seems like a lot of the social media brands, even though they seem to want to embrace you, it gets flagged because of the CBD and because of the word CBD. Do you guys get flagged a lot for hemp, having hemp in your name?
It's totally random. And what I mean by that is I've advertised on Facebook and Instagram and things, and 90% of them go through, and we use our name. We use, hemp denim, whatever. We use the word hemp in describing the clothing, and we don't have a problem. And then every so often they reject an ad and they send us a big nasty gram that says, you are against Facebook standards and we can't do this and yada, yada, yada. I don't think, we don't have it as bad as CBD.
Right.
But it's totally random because those ads are not using any different language than the other 9 ads that went through just fine. So I think it's just weird. Who's looking that day and how bad of a day they're having or whatever.
Yeah. What bot stumbles on your ad and decides to review it? Like who? I don't think it's really humans figuring out those ads these days. But it's messed up. That's one of the parts of the industry I'll be happy when that changes. Like when the standards on that kind of stuff switches over and becomes more lenient. Because what the fuck? Like, come on. Yeah. This is a podcast about CBD, for Christ's sake. And we're just trying to talk about this plant that is benefiting a lot of people. Like, why are you putting the kibosh on that? Like, especially when we're going to be talking about hemp hats. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't get it. It was great to talk to you. So cool to be able to speak to someone who actually is like high level at one of these companies. That is an OG in this field. Anytime I can talk to an OG, someone who's like one of the brands or one of the people who actually kicked things off and is like not only kicked it off and started to make something that now everybody respects, but is still doing it. You know, like you guys are still alive, still kicking, and have expanded so far that, you know, now you're selling around the world. I love that. So thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure having you here.
Absolutely.
Definitely, man. If you want to drop any plugs, just go for it right now.
Well, go to hempys.com and help us out. Help us grow this industry by ordering what we've got now, because we really are looking to expand our product line, but it's a chicken and egg thing. We got to sell what we have to get bigger. So help us out.
Cool. And I would say also expand your 5-panel hat line, because 5-panel hats are where it's at right now. I want some.
Really? They're not fading away? They're
no,
getting
man.
bigger now.
Yeah, they're getting bigger. At least I think they're just catching on in New York. So that's what's happening here. Anyway.
Oh, cool.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. It was great having you, Kenneth. Kenneth Smith,
My pleasure.
Hempy's. Good times. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Peace.
The CBD Source Podcast. This is how we do's it. How we CB do's it.
TheCBDGang.com, the official subreddit for fans of the CBD Source Podcast. Questions, answers, CBD gangsters, and karma. At sweet karma.
All right, so everyone, gang, this is our new social media maven and our Reddit guru, I guess. Well, she's going to be taking over Reddit as a new mod. Our Reddit, if you haven't heard about it, is thecbdgang.com. If you're already on Reddit, it's r/cbdgang. Ladies and gentlemen, Cass. Are you going to introduce yourself, I guess? You've got a script over there?
Kinda. I'm the newest member of the CBD podcast gang. I've been making some Reddit posts for the past 2 weeks. If you're not on Reddit, you should definitely join the conversation. As Cole had said before, it's at thecbdgang.com.
How old are you, Cass?
22.
Okay. And you're like really tall, too.
Yeah, I don't
How tall
like
are
it.
you?
5'11".
Okay. Like I'm
too tall.
I'm 6'3", and you're like almost my height with your shoes, so that's pretty cool. It's like you're the tallest girl in the office for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so you're gonna be taking over our Reddit mostly. I mean, I'm still on there, and we're just building it. I mean, we don't even have like 50 people yet as part of our message board, but we're building. And anyone out there who uses Reddit, I want you to join the CBD gang on Reddit, because that's going to be our message board now that we got you in here.
Yes, definitely. Place for conversation.
Exactly. It's the homepage of the internet.
There's some things you may have missed this past week. I'm just going to talk about a few of them. CBD and pets. We found a great infographic on how CBD can benefit your furry friends, such as relieving separation anxiety, easing chronic pain, and protecting the nervous system. If you have experience with CBD and your furry loved ones, we'd love to hear about it. Join the conversation on Reddit.
Yeah, so if you've used CBD with your animals, weigh in over there, because we're setting up to do an episode about CBD and animals. We just haven't done one yet because it's kind of tough to get a veterinarian who's willing to talk about it. I think California is the only state where vets can like actually recommend CBD like legally, and that only changed last year. Before that, like no vets could actually recommend CBD for animals. Now California is cool with it. So
California's cool with it.
It's anything. Is that what it is? I agree. Yeah, California does roll deep as far as being cool with stuff. Colorado as well. I mean, they just legalized shrooms, I think, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
fancy.
So, yeah. The stuff you'll see is fancy, that's for sure. Yeah, so if you do have a pet, you know, we talked a little bit about like fireworks and dogs, using CBD before the fireworks, and when we were talking about our Independence Day episodes. But yeah, weigh in if you have a pet and have tried CBD and it's worked. That would be cool. So every one of these are good topics to have like an actual thread. We're starting to build threads. Like we want people to actually weigh in, comment, and then we'll have stuff to talk about.
But we need you.
Yeah, this is where you guys come in. The gang at home, we need you to interact with us. All right? Cool.
All right, so next up, we've got, we asked the gang to talk to us about their experience with CBD for arthritis and joint pain. We've gotten some great feedback so far. Something I'd like to touch on is Old Joe on Reddit said that he takes 0 painkillers for his RA and osteoarthritis, all thanks to cannabis products. Thanks, Joe, for sharing.
Cool. Yeah, we just did the whole episode about the Creaky Joints guys, where me and Ryan, the cannabinoid chef, went over to their home base and talked about that crazy poll they did, that crazy survey among their rheumatoid arthritis users, and the results were amazing. So if anyone hasn't heard episode 21, go check that out. If you have arthritis or something like fibromyalgia or something, you want to learn about how CBD and THC might help you, I would go there and listen to our previous episode.
All right, next up, we've got a great study on THCV reducing nicotine cravings in lab animals. A team of researchers with Virginia Commonwealth University, Beijing Institute of Pharmacology and Toxicology, China, and the University of Aberdeen in Scotland found an association between CBD and a reduction in the consumption of tobacco cigarettes.
Cool.
Pretty great.
Yeah. We did an episode a couple back about our security guy Joe has quit smoking cigarettes, quit vaping with CBD. So maybe he did say it helped stave off the cravings. So there's some actual in our building evidence of that possibly working. So if you're thinking about doing that, or if you've had experience with it, go to our message board and chime in. We want to hear from you. More stories. No more stories?
End of the stories. My closing of the stories.
Okay. So, yeah, well, those are good. I mean, this is a good start as far as just getting into Reddit. We've only kind of brushed the surface of Reddit. We haven't really talked about what we post there, and now we're starting to post actively. And you're going to be doing some Instagram posting for us, too, and stuff. More CB dank memes. We'll be kind of rolling them out over the course of the next several weeks.
Your weekly funnies.
Any other people want to give shout outs to for comments on the message board?
We had CBD Vape King join the community last week. He had a nice post on the board about joining the conversation. And it's me, Dave. Welcome to the community.
All right, we're building up our community here. Nice. Any more active members? We're gonna give shout outs because this is brand new, this Reddit community. So anyone who's starting to actively post on there, we're gonna give you not only karma, but we'll give you love on the show. We'll give you love right here on the CBD Source podcast because we want to build this community, and it is one person telling the next, and that's how this thing will grow. So the more the merrier. What else is going on?
Well, we found another infographic on the hemp plant itself and how the stem, the leaves, and everything all mixes in.
Like a full plant. It tells all the parts of the plant. That's cool.
Every benefit to each part.
Oh, that's neat. Definitely check out that infographic while you're up there. Remember we had a contest in episode 20? I'm sure a lot of people listening remember that we talked about. We didn't say the contest on the air, but we posted. All right, so
we've got a contest, but we don't know where it is.
I don't know if we mentioned it, but on episode 20 we did our CB Doobie episode where we tried all those different CBD smokes, and we got a pack of Lowell CBD joints that we're giving away right now. All it took was you had to go to our YouTube channel, which is brand new, and like the three most recent videos and comment on episode 20. So who is the winner of our Lowell Smokes CBD joints? The winner is
Bob Ross for life.
Nice. Congratulations, Bob Ross for life. Happy little trees from here on out as you smoke those CBD joints from Lowell Smokes. We'd like to thank Lowell CBD for donating that pack. Great. And you know what? This episode, we talked to Kenneth Smith from Hempy's. Hempy's is the oldest hemp clothing company in this country, and this guy is the owner of the company. And I was looking through all of his clothes, and I was like, there are a couple of hemp baseball caps in there that say "Got CBD," and I was like, can we give one of those away to one of our lucky listeners? And he was like, hell yeah, man. So we're gonna be giving away a Hempy's Hemp Got CBD baseball cap to one of you gang at home. What should they have to do? We want to come up with something? It's got to be simple, because I keep giving these complicated games to get to win things, and it's like too complicated. So
why don't they join us on Reddit and post to the community board?
All right, cool.
Using the newbie, what is that, flare?
The little newbie flare. Yeah, we created a bunch of new flair. So yeah, I'm gonna post that hat. Okay, I'll post the Got CBD Hempy's hat. Let's say today or tonight. And then just join on Reddit. Do you remember the Reddit? What's our subreddit called?
The CBD Gang.
.com. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So go to thecbdgang.com, or if you're already on Reddit, r/CBDgang, and you'll see a post that shows the hat, the Hempy's hat that says Got CBD. Join our group and give us a comment, especially if you've heard this episode. If you want to see what Cass looks like, we just put a whole bunch.
Please don't look on the website.
We just updated our website. If you go to cbdsourcepodcast.com, we now have 3 pictures of everyone that's regulars on the show. So now that Cass is part of the team, you're part of the rotation. Little animated GIFs that I made the other day.
They're pretty badass.
Yeah, so check it out. You'll see what everyone who works here looks like, and read a little bit more about us. So, Cass, congratulations on your first audio appearance on the show.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for helping out with our message board and social media and stuff. And you're just going to keep growing it, right? Like,
yes, absolutely.
You're going to be like really moving full force into like Instagram and Reddit hardcore. So anyone who sees the Cass mod, you're what's your full first name? Casera. But you go by Cass for short.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And on Reddit, your mod name is CAS because you couldn't fit the 2 S's.
Yeah.
So Cass.
Even my name shortened is too long.
Exactly. All right. So if you're on our message board and you DM Cass, or like if you're posting Cass responds to you, that's this Cass, and now you know her. All right, gang. So congratulations for joining the team, Cass.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
The gang grows every week, right? So awesome. Thank you for stopping by, and we'll catch up with you next time. We'll do another Reddit catch up and see what new stories we're posting, what people are talking about, and
our newest members.
Yeah, exactly. We'll always be wanting to shout out new members, and if you're actively commenting on the boards, we can read some of your comments on the show if you post something show worthy. All right. So challenges in your court. Claim your seat on the CBD Source podcast. Post some good quality stuff that's worth sharing, and we will share it.
Thanks, gang, for contributing to our Reddit page.
There you go. See, it's not all scary.
It is.
No. All right, thanks, Cass.
The CBD Source podcast. This is how we CB do's it.
Well, gang, that was a great episode. Wow, we learned a lot. I had no idea about the small hemp bushes for CBD and the really big, tall hemp trees when you're talking about making hemp specifically grown for fiber. I think Frenchie Cannoli had mentioned that in his episode, but I didn't really understand there was a major difference in the 2 types of farming. So now we all know. It was great meeting Cass. She's new here, so it was cool to have her on the air for the first time. Got to talk about all the Reddit stories that you might have missed in this past week. Please check out our Reddit page, thecbdgang.com, or if you're on Reddit already, it's the subreddit r/CBDgang. Weigh in there. That's our message board, so whenever we're talking about new topics and stuff, or possible topics that are going to come up in future episodes, we'll be posting them there, and you can weigh in with your feedback, and maybe we'll mention you on the show. All right, gang. We will CBD you next Tuesday.
Give the show a call at 1-833-223-4264. That's 833-CBD-GANG.
The CBD Source podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Cole Cheney. Additional voice, camera, and web production by Ryan Weber. Graphic design and artwork by John DiGian Tommaso, Kevin Bierfeld, and Patel, and our in-house CBD vape expert, Anthony Maltese. As well as our personal CBD cannabidiet chef Ryan Weber and our social media maven Casera. Additional thanks to Tasha, Kevin, Liz, Steve, and Ryan for lending your vocal talent. I'm James Lazos. This is my one job on the show. To wrap it up, I'm the wrap-up guy. Serial Mouse! Want to be a guest on the show? Call us at 833-CBD-GANG. Again, that's 833-CBD-GANG, and leave a message with your contact information and we'll get back to you right away. Visit us on cbdsourcepodcast.com for all the links to your social media. Be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next week.
This podcast or its related social media pages and interactions are for informational purposes only. The CBD Source podcast does not offer medical advice. Its host, Cole Cheney, is not a medical professional. His experiences with cannabidiol and other cannabinoids are his own and may not affect you the same way. Everybody's endocannabinoid system is different. The statements made regarding CBD products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. The efficacy of these products and the testimonials made have not been confirmed by FDA-approved research. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All information presented here is not meant as a substitute for or alternative to information from healthcare practitioners. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. The Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act requires this notice.
Thank you for listening to the CBD Source podcast. This is how we CB do's it.
The Bristling.
Do you like or want to try quality, third-party tested CBD? Do you live in the New York, Pennsylvania area? We got you covered, gang. Stop by any of our 8 convenient CBD Source locations. We currently have New York stores in Middletown, Geneseo, New Paltz, Syracuse, Troy, Albany, and Chatham. We also have one in Pittston, PA. We're growing more each month, so check in with cbdsourcecenter.com to find our addresses and new store locations. While you're there, sign up for our mailing list. We're adding new stores across New York and Pennsylvania all the time. We may soon be expanding to a town near you.
And when you talk in there, you'll hear yourself. So get up, right up to it. Right up, like this close.
I'm so sick, though. Oh, wow.
Get right up on there. Yeah, I think you got me sick just by being in the proximity of you. You're like the only person in the office with tissues by your desk, and now I've got tissues.
I noticed that when I walked in this morning. I was like, oh, boy.
Yeah. I slept on the floor last night because I didn't want to... Because my girlfriend's fucking has like no immune system right now because of the chemo, so I didn't want to like get her sick. So yeah, I didn't get much sleep last night. It's that changing of the season time when